Welcome everyone. I'm Santosh Raikar, and today we're going to discuss one of the most elusive yet critical components of industrial success, reliability culture. The real test of a culture isn't how it performs when everything is stable, but whether it can survive the transition to the next manager. We will explore how to build a system where leadership behavior, operating discipline, learning, and governance work in harmony. Let's start with a scenario many of you might recognize. Imagine a plant where a disciplined weekly schedule and defect reviews have finally brought maintenance under control. But then, a new manager arrives. To save time, one meeting is shortened, priorities shift to immediate production numbers, and suddenly, the preventative maintenance windows vanish. Within 6 months, the old failures are back. Reliability wasn't formally canceled. The system simply stopped reinforcing it. This begs the question, what routines could have protected that standard regardless of who was in charge? Why does this matter so much? Because a strong system makes the right action easier to take, even under extreme pressure. Reliability culture isn't just enthusiasm for maintenance. It's the visible, repeated pattern of decisions that protect asset health. It's seen in what gets put on a meeting agenda and how leaders respond to bad news. When we build systems that provide the right incentives and routines, we create a continuity that doesn't depend on a single champion. By the end of this session, you should be able to diagnose a reliability culture through observable decisions rather than just slogans. We'll learn how to align leadership with operating priorities, create a safe environment for learning without blame, and embed critical routines into the very DNA of the organization through role charters and standards. Ultimately, we want to build a 90-day pilot that can withstand a change in sponsorship. In our first section, we'll focus on seeing the risk clearly. Before we can fix a culture, we have to understand the systemic conditions that can turn ordinary daily work into significant enterprise risk. To solve problems together, we must use precise language. We often confuse culture, our shared deep assumptions, with climate, which is just the current perception of priorities. We also need to understand just culture, which distinguishes between honest human error and reckless choices, and psychological safety, the confidence that one can speak up without fear. Institutionalizing these concepts means making them part of the process, not just a personality trait of the boss. The risk of a poor reliability culture is far larger than just a maintenance invoice. When culture erodes, we see normalized leaks and bypass safeguards. Work quality drops because urgency displaces planning, and your best people, those who value high standards, will eventually leave when their concerns are repeatedly overruled. A manager-dependent program is a fragile program that will collapse during the next reorganization. Failure doesn't usually happen because of one big bad act. It develops through a chain of small signals. It starts with mixed messages from leadership, leads to routine exceptions like waiving PMs, moves into silence where employees stop reporting issues, and eventually results in the normalization of defects. By the time a major event occurs, it's actually the predictable outcome of a culture built on the exceptions leaders permitted along the way. The warning signs are almost always there if you know where to look. Watch out for schedule bargaining, where reliability work always loses to production. Look for bad news delay, where people wait until they are 100% certain before reporting a problem, or a hero dependence, where the plant relies on emergency responders rather than robust systems. These are the red flags that suggest your culture is drifting toward risk. To diagnose your current state, ask these 8 questions. Don't answer with your intentions, but with hard evidence. For example, when production and reliability conflict, is the decision based on an explicit risk assessment? Can employees stop work without an informal penalty? If your key routines would stop if the current sponsor left tomorrow, then your system isn't yet real. It's just a personal initiative. Now that we've identified the risks, Section 2 will focus on building the operating model, a disciplined framework with explicit decisions, controls, and evidence. 5 core principles guide this model. First, remember that every decision teaches the organization what is truly valued. Second, view bad news as capacity because it gives you time to react. Third, ensure fairness to enable learning. Fourth, rely on stable routines over one-off campaigns. And finally, ensure that governance is designed to outlive any individual champion. We use the Embed 6 system to convert values into behavior. It's a progression. We listen to understand the reality, align expectations, enable people with the right capacity, practice through daily routines, learn from every near miss, and finally institutionalize the process. The ultimate test is whether the standard still holds on a difficult night shift long after the person who started the program has moved on. The first step is to listen. This isn't just a survey. It involves interviewing people across different shifts and roles and observing how decisions are actually made in the field. We need to map out where the perceived rewards and penalties lie. The output here is an evidence-based culture baseline that the plant leadership must own. Next, we align. The plant manager must lead the effort to define non-negotiable controls and align production and maintenance goals. This means clarifying exactly who has the right to make risk-based decisions and publishing clear criteria for when work should be stopped or escalated. Without this alignment, the front line is left to guess what the real priority is. Then we enable. It's not enough to tell people to work reliably. We must give them the capacity to do so. This involves protecting PM windows, providing the right tools and training, and removing conflicting incentives that punish people for doing the job correctly. Functional leaders are accountable for creating these workable conditions. In the practice phase, we turn intent into habit. This is where line managers run standard tier meetings and use field leadership conversations to reinforce expectations. We should be looking for and recognizing prevention and learning just as much as we recognize fixing things. The goal is a visible daily leadership routine. The fifth move is to learn. When an event or near miss happens, the focus should be on preserving evidence and analyzing the system factors, not just the human error. By selecting stronger controls and sharing those lessons across the whole organization, we turn bad experiences into lasting improvements. Reliability and HSE teams usually lead this verification process. Finally, we institutionalize. We must embed these duties into role charters and standardize meeting agendas. By developing successors and auditing behaviors as well as outcomes, the site leadership team ensures that the governance is durable. This is how we move from a person-dependent program to a system-dependent one. Decision rules are vital because they prevent convenience from becoming unofficial policy. For example, if production requests a deferral of critical work, the response shouldn't be a simple yes or no, but a documented risk decision that names the owner and the time limit. These rules ensure that even when things get difficult, the decision-making process remains transparent and evidence-based. Moving to Section 3, we'll look at how to make this executable. We need to translate the model into actual field workflows, data points, and a management cadence that works. Reliability often fails in the gaps between departments. To fix this, we need clear accountabilities. The plant manager models the trade-offs, operations integrates asset care into production, maintenance protects the quality and planning, and the frontline supervisor turns these into daily priorities. When everyone, including the workforce, knows their role, the system becomes seamless. Standard work is what turns high-level intent into repeatable execution. By following a controlled sequence, from listening and aligning all the way through to sustaining and auditing, we ensure that we aren't just reacting to the crisis of the day, but building a foundation for long-term health. A critical control is not just training. It is a specific, observable action. This includes things like a leadership reliability charter that defines non-negotiables, risk-based priority meetings where trade-offs are made public, and succession packs that protect critical knowledge during leadership changes. These controls must be verified regularly to ensure they are actually functioning. When it comes to data, we should only capture the minimum needed to change a decision. We aren't looking for surveillance. We're looking for insights into risk decisions, concern responses, and control exceptions. If a standard is bypassed, why was it done, and who authorized it? Tracking these elements provides a roadmap of the culture's health. We need measures that trigger action, not just admiration. Pair your lagging indicators with leading ones like critical PM protection or risk decision quality. If your KPIs are improving, but the actual field conditions are worsening, you have a measurement problem. We want to measure things like how long it takes to respond to a concern and whether our learning actions are actually effective. Management cadence is the heartbeat of a durable culture. On each shift, the front line reviews exceptions. Weekly, we check the health of our controls. Monthly, we connect indicators to business loss. This tiered approach ensures that issues are escalated appropriately without overwhelming the organization with unnecessary meetings. Technology should reinforce the discipline you've already defined, not replace it. Your CMMS should make backlogs and deferrals visible, and your action tracking system should ensure that cross-functional learning doesn't get lost. Use technology to preserve the history of decisions and standards through personnel changes. Now, let's look at how to apply, verify, and sustain these methods. We want to scale our efforts only after we have evidence that they are working on a small scale. Let's revisit our case study of the packaging plan. Before the intervention, everything depended on one manager's spreadsheet. Decisions were made in informal phone calls, and supervisors were getting conflicting goals. Employees had even stopped reporting contamination because nothing ever changed. The decision point here was, how do we transfer leadership without restarting the entire reliability journey? The intervention used the Embed 6 framework. They started by listening to all shifts to map actual behaviors. They aligned leaders on non-negotiable rules for risk decisions and enabled supervisors with an escalation path. By standardizing agendas and reviewing contamination through a fair learning lens, they embedded the process into the site's permanent system. The results were visible in behavior. Meetings continued with documented purposes, production trade-offs became transparent, and employees finally received feedback on the defects they reported. The key lesson? A routine needs a purpose, not just a calendar invite. And succession planning is itself a critical reliability control. Now it's your turn. In this tabletop exercise, imagine a new leader wants to suspend weekly scheduling for a quarter to chase production numbers. How would you handle this? What control purpose would be lost? Who would own the temporary risk? This exercise helps you practice making risk-based decisions with incomplete information. Be careful of common implementation traps. Don't just launch a slogan campaign. Change the priorities and routines first. Don't mistake no blame for no accountability. And never let reliability belong only to the maintenance department. It must be a shared responsibility. If you're only celebrating heroes who fix things, you're missing the chance to reward those who prevent failures in the first place. A 90-day roadmap is the best way to start. Spend the first month listening and baselining. In the second month, pilot your new meeting agendas and speak up standards. By the third month, audit the behavior, verify a learning action, and create your succession pack. This creates the evidence you need to justify scaling up the program. When communicating with management, build a credible business case. Include the costs of leadership time and coaching, but balance them against the value of earlier risk detection, reduced break-in work, and better workforce retention. Real value comes from avoiding chronic losses and ensuring that improvements survive leadership turnover. To maintain high standards, use this 12-point field audit. Score only what can be actually observed or traced. Can leaders state the non-negotiables? Are trade-offs documented? Do learning reviews look at organizational factors? If you can answer yes to these, and the system has survived at least one leadership change, you are on the right track. To synthesize everything we've discussed, a durable culture is the reliability operating system people experience every day. Observe decisions, not slogans. Make bad news useful. Treat succession as a control. Leadership must commit to 3 things: no hidden trade-offs, no punished early warnings, and no essential routines without a successor. For those who want to dive deeper, I've provided a list of selected articles and standards, including guidance from the HSE and NASA's Safety Culture Handbook. These resources offer a wealth of information on managing human failure and organizational learning. I also want to credit the visual sources used in this presentation. These real industrial photographs from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the IAEA, and the U.S. Navy help ground these concepts in real-world application. As we close, I want to leave you with one final thought. What will still protect reliability at your plant after you leave? Your task is to build the routines, the evidence, and the successors that make your leadership durable. Make the risk visible, make the standard executable, and always verify the result. Thank you.